How you doing today, guys? Welcome back to another video. This is Alex, and we're finally over here with the Ardor for a proper trail review. Long overdue in this current setup. Before we start, as usual, please subscribe, turn that notification bell on. If you're new here, welcome. If you're back, welcome back. And other than that, you know, you can check the affiliate links in the description below for everything that I'm going to be talking about below. And let's ride. All right, so just real quick before we start, just a quick overview of what we're running over here. I have a RockShox Yuri with 130 millimeters of travel. This is a 30 millimeter extension. I'm having a setup as a 29er. In the front I have a Michelin Wow Enduro 29 by 2.4. It is set up tubeless. At the rear I have the stock Axum wheel with the Cruiser hub, running a Continental X King 2.2 as a 29er. This is the max that you can go. I have a CRX Pro group set 11 speed with the 11 to 50 tooth cassette. This is a 175 millimeter crank arms that came stock on my Polygon Siskiyou T8, and I'm running a Racework 32 tooth chain ring. I have the stock Polygon saddle, the stock Polygon handlebars, 35 millimeter diameter, with a fun headset. This is a Race Face. I think it's a 60 millimeter center to center stem, 35 millimeter clamp, rock grips, and of course I have the Maroka 4-piston brakes. A lot of these components I had them on the black Axum, and so far I have 180 millimeter rotors front and rear, and this is the custom painted Ardor that I built up. So those are quick specs on this bike, and other than that, let's ride. All right, so right off the bat, let's start with me telling you that this is my second Ardor. The first one that I had, as you know, I returned it because I wasn't a big fan on how I felt on it. Now this, being set up as a 29, and with the stem change and a little few modifications that I've done, it's starting to feel a whole lot better. Climbing, let's start with that, because I don't know what it is about this one, but it's climbing pretty damn good. And I was in second gear right there. That's a pretty tough climb, short but tough. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a combination. It must be a combination of the 175 millimeter crank arms, along with the weight of this bike, which is my lightest bike besides the Poseidon Redwood. Really, a lot has to do with it. Now this group set, I have a review on it, and Jeremiah from Wolfstick just did a review on it as well. And like I told you on mine, I feel that this group set is very much like the Box 2 11 speed group set that I have. That wasn't that bad at all. Sideways, not bad. And this is not my first ride on this bike. I've taken it on the streets. However, it is my first ride on the trail. Now, I still don't have a dropper post on this one, because like I said, I hardly ride this thing, and I don't want to spend $150 on a dropper post for a bike that I hardly use. Eventually, but not right now. Now, another thing that I didn't like about this bike, and I'm glad I kind of thought about it before this ride today, is my sitting position. I always felt a little bit weird on this one. Now the stem, I changed from a I think it was a 45 millimeter stem, you know, center to center, to a, I think this is a 60 millimeter offset stem, and that's because this bike is a little bit small for me. So with this change, it put me in a little bit better position, but I wasn't quite there yet. So another thing that I did before this ride was actually slide the saddle as far back as I could, and now I think I hit the sweet spot. I think I am where I need to be on this bike. And what I just told you about the changes on this bike, as I had mentioned on a previous video, saying that I want to put it back into 27.5, I'm thinking about it. Now I'm doubting myself, but I'm liking this thing. Pretty nimble. The only thing I wish I could have on this setup is space for a wider rear tire, because you're limited to a 2.2 at the rear, but at the front you're only limited to what the fork specifications tells you. These are my own opinions. I'm not a big fan of 27.5s. That's the reason I turned it into a 29er, but it does have its drawbacks. Whew. Climb right there. Now if I do change it back to 27.5, then I will be doing another follow-up video on that. Also, when talking about the climbing, the weight of the bike has a lot to do with that. It feels really good. It's weird how this bike feels. It feels really planted down to the ground. Very solid, but light. And I love it. Well, maybe, and only maybe, since I can't ride anything bigger than a 2.2 at the rear. Maybe I can find a more aggressive 2.2 just for more grip. All right, so final thoughts on this custom built Mongoose Ardor. As you guys seen, I did a lot to this bike. First of all, it's a 29er, it's not a 27.5 anymore. I painted it, as you guys seen on previous videos. If you want to see all the components, even though I went through them at the beginning of the video, I have a video with the specs and everything that I don't think anything has changed since then. I really don't think so, except for the stem and the, yeah, only the stem I think. I got a little longer stem, but that's just for comfort for me. As I stated, the geometry, the size of this bike is a little bit smaller for my taste. Now, what do I think about this bike? Let's go ahead and let me show you real quick. So like I said, this bike is a little bit smaller for me, and I had to adjust it so that I can fit a little bit better. The one thing that I did before today's ride was slide the saddle as back as possible as I could. That way to put me in a very comfortable position. And before today's ride, well, the reason I got this longer stem is for the same reasons, to put me in a better position. And I think those two major things that I did to this bike put me on a way better position than at the beginning on my previous rides when I rode it on the streets. So as the ride got farther into the trail, I felt it more comfortable, more nimble, more playful, and overall better for my size. I'm not the biggest guy ever. I'm only 5'10", but like I said, I usually ride a large, and this is a medium-sized frame. And with these little modifications that I did, again, this is set up as a 29er, and I wanted it like that just for my own comfort. Now, something that helped a lot on the climbs as well, and on everything overall, I have currently, this is a 20, I have it set up as a 29er. I usually run 170 millimeter crank arms, but these are 175. These are the stock ones that came on my Polygon Siskiyou T8, but since I made it as a 29er, I thought maybe with it'll raise it up a little bit, so it will be less likely for me to pedal stroke with only 5 millimeters extra. But I think everything in combination on what I did to it actually made it feel very, very good. Overall, very, and this is my own opinions on the setup that I currently have. Again, like I told you, I might change. I told you during the ride and on a previous video that I was gonna convert these back into 27.5. That's why I laced up those stock outer wheels with the boost and cassette ready hubs on this thing. I think they're the Cruisers and a Novatech, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't done that yet, but when I told you in the ride, I wanted to change it back to a 27.5 because I don't ride this thing that much. I might actually hold up on that just a little bit, get the trail to dry up a little more, and actually ride this thing a little bit more, because I felt very, very good on it. This is the lightest bike that I have so far. I don't remember the exact weight, but I think it's sub 30 pounds if I'm not mistaken. I think it's up. I don't want to wait right now because it's full of mud and everything. That's just gonna bring the weight up on it. But I think this is a sub 30 pound, maybe 29 something if I'm not mistaken. The only thing I still don't have on it is a dropper post. Throughout the ride, I felt more comfortable on the bike, a little more confident. The only thing that I did not like too much, and that's probably because of the setup that I have, is this 29 by 2.2 Continental King, and that's because of today's trail condition. It was a little bit muddy in some parts of the trail because it hasn't dried up completely, and I felt like I need a little more grip, which this tire doesn't do. On the front, no problems right there on the enduro, Guja Enduro. This turned out to surprise me actually, On climbs, again, I used this group set before in different builds, different bikes, and it's being grandfathered in. It's right now on this Mongoose Ardor. I don't know if I'm gonna put it on my dad's Axum. I don't know yet, but felt really good on climbing. It felt really good on the high gears, on the low gears, shifting and everything, especially like I said on the climbing. It surprised me. Like I said, I don't know if it was the combination of the gears. I never end up using the 52 gear on it, which is the highest, the lowest gear. I did not use it on the steepest climb, even though we don't have too many steep climbs over here. But the biggest climb that I have over here, which is pretty short but steep, very steep, I only used the second gear on it. So I think that was pretty damn good. And I climbed it, no issues, no trouble whatsoever. And it's just, like I said, just a combination of everything. The bike weight, the gearing, the crank arm length and all that. I think everything had a lot to do with that. Now, let's remember, I bought this bike for $120. I did not pay full price for this one. Originally, the first time that I bought an Ardor, I did pay full price, but I ended up returning it because, like I said, the original sizing did not fit me well. Now, would I buy it again at retail price? That's a tough question, because at the same price, you have available the Cantreville, which in my opinion, I think has better components that this one comes at the beginning, because I mean, the Truvel is a 29er, which this is what I'm going for anyway. But what I like about the Ardor is the geometry, the frame, how it actually looks, because it looks really, really tough. It looks like freaking aggressive, and I love that. That's the only reason I got it. I was able to get it for $120 on the Facebook Marketplace, and that was probably the best purchase I have ever made on these lower end bikes. Now, would I buy it again? Probably not a retail price. Not a retail price. Like I said, Cantreville has a way better geometry, because, I mean, if you are a beginner rider, this is, I believe, I'll leave affiliates in the description below. I think it's a 348. It was originally 298. Then it went up again. I don't know. I haven't checked the price on it lately. But at a retail price, if it's under $300, maybe, but if it's over $300, I probably will not buy it, only because it comes with a free wheel. Because by the time you start upgrading this thing, just by the time you get a rear wheel or a cassette hub compatible and relays it, you're already out either, depending on what you get, at least $60 if you do your own work, okay? If you buy a wheel, then you're off $100 if you want to start upgrading it right away. I mean, probably if you're barely getting into mountain biking, and this bike size, if you're shorter than me, maybe 5'6", 5'8", 5'9", yes, I would recommend it for you, because it'll get you into the sport. You will not lose a lot of money, and it'll tell you if you actually like it or not. And then it gives you options as you go to start upgrading it as you please. Like I said, right now, it actually surprised me the way this thing actually performed in the trail, the way that I have it right now. And like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna make it back into a 27.5. Right, I will, but maybe I want to get a few more rides out of it before I actually do that. So overall, what do I think about this bike? Like I said, I actually ended up liking it the more that I rode it. I only rode it for like 8 miles on the actual trail. I have ridden this thing before, like I rode it on the gravel and the paved path over here in the area for about 15, 16 miles before, 18 miles or so. And but that was before the longer stem and sliding the seat back a little bit. And I felt the whole time, I felt uncomfortable. Today with these changes, sliding this thing back and with the longer stem, it made my day. I mean, it just put me on a way better position, and I ended up liking it a lot. All right, so I don't have many bad things to say about this bike. Again, if you like this video, if you like this bike, check it out in the description below. If you like these parts that I put in here, if you want to see everything that I put in here, I have videos about that. Check them out. I'll leave a playlist for you right here. And other than that, if you made it this far, thank you for staying. If you're new, please subscribe, turn the notification bell on. That way you don't miss any future projects or future changes to this bike. And as usual, if you don't support the channel, you can buy me a cup of coffee. Check the links in the description below. And that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys. I hope that you like this video. Give you ideas on what to do with this type of bikes whenever they don't fit you exactly as they should. You know, you can always modify them to fit you better on the long run. Other than that, that's gonna wrap it up for today, guys, and I guess I'll see you on the trails. Let's ride.